All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Running with Wolves. So today we are going to talk about how to create your social media marketing strategy. Now, this is something that we've kind of been asked about a lot in terms of breaking it down, like step by step, really how to create your strategy and implement it. So let's dig into it, shall we? Before we jump into actually how to create your marketing strategy, I want to remind you guys of what is not a marketing strategy. Going viral is not a marketing strategy. Just showing up and creating content without intention behind it, without thinking about your target audience, that is not a marketing strategy. You can't just show up, post content that has no purpose behind it, check the box and be like, woohoo, I marketed. Not how it works, right? Something I want to remind you guys of is that you're not buying from your favorite brands or businesses because they just show up. Like Rare Beauty's content, if you use their makeup, you buy their makeup because they have a killer marketing strategy, right? People are talking about how much they love their makeup, right? You see your favorite influencers using it. Their content in and of itself shows you how amazing the makeup is, right? If they were just to show up and like slap a graphic of one of their liquid blushes up on social media and be like, well, we marketed, would you actually buy from them? No. Odds are probably not, without everything else that they have going for them in their marketing strategy. So just showing up, going viral, any of those things where you're not thinking about a buyer's journey, problems, desires, symptoms, any of those things, that is not a marketing strategy. And so we want to think about how we can we want to essentially treat our marketing strategy as we call a bit of a funnel, basically, to get people from, I have no fucking clue who this brand or this business is, to I can't live without these products or services, immediate add to cart. So that's kind of the process that we're going to work through together today. So let's talk about what is a marketing strategy. It is a way to get people to buy from you, a buyer's journey, a funnel, an actual content plan backed by sales psychology and data. The other thing that is not a marketing strategy is content that is like that people say you should be implementing without taking into account how people buy or without taking into account how your target audience buys. A big mistake that I see, and this is why we created the Wolf framework, which is attract, warm, convert, is people nail their attraction content. They're going viral all the time, or their content's performing really well. They're engaging their audience. Their audience is always commenting back on their posts, talking to them constantly. They're having these great conversations. They're stalking their content, their profiles, their links in the bio. They've got great website traffic. And then when it comes to translating that to sales, they're like, well, what the fuck is going on? Why isn't anyone buying? They love our content. There's a difference between people loving your content because you're creating content designed for people to consume, and people buying your products or services because you're creating content designed to convert your audience into sales. So let's talk about how to create a sales-based marketing strategy. So like I said, we have our Wolf framework, which is attract, warm, convert. So the first thing that we do is when people work with us, we have them identify the buyer types that are in their audience. There are 4 different buyer types. I have a whole podcast episode on this, you guys. So if you haven't listened to this, we also talk about them as Sex and the City characters, which is my favorite. And it's so easy to understand. If you have watched Sex and the City, and if you have not, don't worry, you will still understand it. But there's 4 different buyer types. They all take different things into account when it comes to making a purchase or an investment. And we also talk about how to uncover what the buyer types in your audience are. So if you have not done that yet, make sure that you go and watch that episode so you can understand what the buyer types in your audience are. It is literally a cheat sheet for when it comes to selling to your audience in a really easy way. Because like if, for example, you were looking for a laundry detergent and you really, the way that you made purchases is like you were looking for statistics, data, articles that basically showed you what the best laundry detergent was for the best cost. And I lined up in my content 5 different statistics that said our laundry detergent was the absolute best. You'd be like, no brainer, add to cart, right? Otherwise, if I was talking about feelings about laundry detergent or I don't know, pros and cons or educating you about laundry detergents, you'd be like, yeah, that's great, but it's not really what drives me to make a purchase. If you are talking to your buyer types and telling them what they need to hear to buy, they will buy from you or invest in your services, no questions asked, or very minimal questions asked, and logistical questions at that. Okay. So like I said, first thing that we do when we have our clients start working with us is they identify the buyer types that are in your audience. Second piece of homework is identifying the problems, the desires, and the symptoms of those problems and desires that your target audience has. We also have another podcast episode on this if you want to watch it. But essentially, for product or service-based businesses, and when I say for every product or service-based business, your target audience has problems and they have desires that your product or service uniquely solves or meets that desire or need, right? So if you can identify what those problems and desires are and how your product or service is a unique solution to your target audience's needs, you will never struggle to create sales again, honestly. Because you're able to, and we'll talk about this in a second, plug that information in to a framework, a proven framework to create sales super consistently. So problems, desires, and symptoms, and the unique solutions that your product or your service offers and how it solves those problems or meets those needs and those desires. You're going to create content around all of that, because when people are consuming your content, they're binging your content. If they have that problem or they have that desire, they're going to relate to and identify with your content, which is going to make them binge it that much more. And then if you can show your product or service is a solution to that, it's going to really effortlessly convert them, because they're going to see that it's going to solve that problem and they're going to be motivated to purchase because they don't want to have this problem anymore, or they want this desire to come true. So it's just more motivating and activating factors. Okay, so like I said, we're going to plug all that information into our Wolf framework. So we have attract, warm, convert. These are literally just different phases of the buyer's journey. Now, we want to think about the platforms that we are going to do these things on. So we have attract, warm, convert. If your target audience is consuming content on TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Reels, Facebook Reels, Pinterest, any of those things, you should be creating content on one of those platforms. Typically, the most universal is going to be TikTok, but you also have to think about where is your target audience consuming content. So we want to create attraction content on that platform. Typically, that's going to look like one either trend or polarizing conversational piece of content. Now, you can do a trend, which is literally just finding a trending audio and customizing it to your industry specifically. The goal with attraction content is to entertain or educate. And you're going to be like, Savannah, you said education content is dead. I'll get there in a second. So entertaining is really what people are wanting to do when it comes to attraction content. They want to be entertained. 9 times out of 10, the content that goes viral for our business is me making a fool of myself, honestly. It's entertaining content, or it's me doing something funny, saying something funny, right? Because that's our brand personality in our business, and nothing grabs people's attention like being entertained. The other things that typically perform really well is going to be either educational or polarizing content that is designed to get people thinking. It's a question or a statement. So like, for example, a lot of content that creates really great visibility for us is like the old era of marketing is dead. The different buyer types, that typically performs really well for us. My psychotic CEO morning routine, that performs really well for us. What is not a marketing strategy in 2024, right? All of those things, those topics typically perform really well for us because our opinions on those things, our advice on those things is very polarizing. It's very different than anything that our competitors are talking about. And so it causes people to sit and think and see us as, that authority and that expert in our environment. So again, think about that as top of funnel. It's literally just designed to grab people's attention. It's not even designed to engage them at all. It's literally just designed to grab people's attention and get them to be like, oh, that's really interesting, or that's really freaking funny. and get them to go to your profile to binge your content more. That is all that attraction content is designed to do, to go to as many For You pages as possible or reach as many target audience members as possible and get them to be first exposed to your brand or your business. Then we go to warming, which is going to either be 2 TikToks per day or an Instagram feed post, right? So on TikTok, the goal here is to educate. Now, when I say educate, I do not mean 3 tips to losing weight or eating healthy as a health coach, and you give those 3 tips and that's it. That is exclusively educational content. What I'm talking about is, yes, you're giving them tips and tricks, but you are not just giving them tips and tricks. You're also showing how your product or service is a direct solution to the topic they're talking about. So if you were a health coach and you were talking about, here are 3 recipes you need to try this week if you're, trying to sustainably get healthier or lose weight or get toned or any of those things. So yeah, you're talking about recipes. And then you're saying, if you are somebody who struggles significantly when it comes to, thinking about recipes, or you feel like you constantly are yo-yoing in terms of weight, diets, all of that good stuff, and you just can never feel super strong and healthy, that's exactly what I help my clients with. So I want to have a conversation with you, head to the link in my bio or DM me this keyword and let's chat, right? You're giving them valuable information that they could probably take and get some quick wins from. But on the tail end of that, you're also giving them a solution to that topic, which is exactly what your service or your product is. So when we talk about warming content over on TikTok, you're educating around the problems or the desires that your target audience has, but you're also showcasing the solution that you offer in relation to those problems and those desires. And that is a lot of times what warms up your audience to the point where they see you as an authority or an expert in your industry. They see you as very different and better than your competitors, and they become raving fans for your brand or for your business, and to the tipping point of where they almost buy from you, but they're not there yet. So then we get to our converting content, and the same goes for over on Instagram. Converting content is really going to be selling on your Instagram stories or another converting platform where your target audience is consuming content, and on your feed as well. You are going to exclusively solution sell in this content. And on top of that, you're going to objection handle and create social proof. Now, this conversion phase is really what shifts and changes based on the buyer types that are in your audience. Attracting and warming, you're not really thinking about buyer types because it's more so about casting a wider net, right? This conversion phase is people who are following you. They're loyal to your brand or your business. They're raving fans of your brand or your business. They just haven't bought from you yet, and they just need that next thing to hear that will justify that purchase or that investment for them, which is where that solution selling comes in, and how you need to showcase your product or service as a unique solution to your target audience's needs. And then, like I said, on top of that, if you can pre-objection handle in your content, meaning if people are saying, oh, it's too expensive, it's not the right time, I can't afford it, giving you excuses as to why they are not going to purchase or invest in your product or your service, pre-handling that in your content and showing them why that thought process is almost like silly, and showing them the value of that purchase or that investment is going to be huge in terms of converting people. And last but not least, it's going to be social proof, reviews, testimonials, client case studies, screenshot wins, any of those things, right? Those are all showcasing those. It's going to be really helpful for you to actually convert people, because people are, I always say, I love people, but people are like sheep. When one of them moves, they all move. So if they see other people, it's why influencer marketing is so powerful. When they see other people who have used your product, been a part of your service, raving about it, or the results they've created, or any of those things, automatically it's really easy for them to be like, okay, that's exactly what I want. Other people are seeing this result that I'm looking for. Great, I'm going to try it too, basically. So that's attracting, warming, and converting. So that's why we start with the buyer types. That's why we start with the problems, desires, and symptoms, because from there you can really literally plug it into any framework, right? So the other question a lot of times that I get is tools I can't live without for creating a marketing strategy for myself or for my clients. So the number one thing that I literally cannot live without is going to be data. The reason why so many people, in my opinion, still feel like content and sales is a guessing game is because they're not looking at or listening to what their data or their audience is telling them. And they're just like, la, 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 and they're just creating content over and over and over again without any influence from what their data is telling them. If you look at your data, you look at what's performing well, what's driving the most profile views, what's driving the most link clicks, you can almost always refine your strategy down to the top attraction warming and converting topics. And so every piece of content is just so hard hitting and does what it's supposed to do. And you have a level of clarity and confidence around, these are the 5 things I need to say to attract. These are the 5 things I need to say to warm, and these are the 5 things that I need to say to convert my audience into sales. And then you just create it with new examples, analogies, metaphors, pop culture references, etc. Right? It makes content creation so much easier too. So data is the number one thing that I literally cannot live without. So in terms of attraction content, we kind of just went over this a little bit, but key data you want to be looking at is what's performing the best in terms of video views and why. Is it the format of the content? Is it the topic of the content? Is it the audio? Is it the hashtags? Why is it that it's performing so well? With warming and converting, you want to look at what is your audience saving and sharing the most of? What are they engaging the most with, commenting back on? What's driving the most conversations? And then with converting, you want to look at profile views, link clicks, inquiries, website traffic, anything that's indicating that people are moving and taking action based off of what they're feeling in their content. So data is going to be huge. Number 2 is going to be a project management platform or a content calendar. So I love ClickUp for project management because it enables us to house all of this data. We have a content creation calendar in there. We have places where people can approve content. We have a project list. We have to-do lists. It really houses everything. So I love ClickUp for a place for a content calendar. It requires a bit more setup initially, but once you get it set up, chef's kiss, like 10 out of 10, honestly, you guys. And then we're talking about for content creation, right? So my third tool, and this may be controversial though, is honestly like a big ass whiteboard. When I am creating content, I don't know about you guys, but I am so visual. I have to map everything out. So like if you put me in a room with like a whiteboard as big as this wall, I will go to town and I will have your entire marketing strategy mapped out for the next 12 months, but I have to do it visually. And I don't know what it is, but like looking at a content calendar or a document on a project management platform just like does not do it for me. So I got to have a good whiteboard and an expo marker and an eraser, and we can call it good. So those are the tools I can't live without when I'm creating a marketing strategy for myself or our clients. And that is really how we go about creating those marketing strategies. So I hope you guys found this really helpful. I know it's obviously like a crash course into creating a marketing strategy, but if you do have any questions about creating a marketing strategy, analyzing your marketing strategy or your data to see like what's working and what's not, please put them in the comments below or have a conversation with me on Instagram because I want to help you guys because it really is so easy if you know what to kind of plug everything into. So leave your comments and the questions below and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye guys.